Hi, my name's Steve Backus, and this is Meet the Ocean Encounters. So there I was, the captain of a 38-foot water taxi, driving out of the Kenai Fjords National Park in Ayalik Bay. I had just gone to the northern section to pick up some German tourists who had been kayaking for a day or two, and I was making the return back to Seward. Everything was calm. We couldn't really ask for better conditions. I had a friend or two with me as a ride-along, getting to show them the glaciers, the fjords, and all the beauty of the Kenai Fjords National Park. We were idly chit-chatting on our way back, cruising at a nice, gentle 23 knots. And right in front of me, what did I find? A humpback whale, surfaced with its trajectory directly on a collision course with the front of my boat. I usually think of distances in boat lengths. As sailors, that's usually what we refer to, because it's an object of reference that we're surrounded by and is really easy to draw from. I would say the humpback whale was maybe 2 boat lengths away. Traveling at 23 knots, even with a planing craft that will slow down very quickly when you lay off the throttle, it does take a while to slow down, a while for the craft to fully stop. And I felt that there was no way we were going to avoid collision. I pulled the throttle back, threw it into neutral, and clinched up and waited for the impact. A few seconds passed, and the impact never came. I was just starting to feel the elation from avoiding such a horrible situation. Can you imagine running over a humpback whale? Bringing that story back to my bosses, having the German tourists there observing the whole thing, having to handle that scenario, and having to deal with the guilt of perhaps injuring a species that I feel so reverent about. But that wasn't going to happen. A couple seconds passed, everything was quiet, everything seemed good. We were sitting there, boat stopped dead in the water, engines in neutral, and I was about to breathe a sigh of relief when off the port bow, it came. The tail rose, the flukes high in the air. The whale drew back its tail and pitched it right into our port deadlights, right into our windows. The initial impact shook the boat pretty good. The boat tilted to starboard. There was a loud bang, and the whale's flukes smeared across the whole port side, window to window to window. One of the most dramatic things that happened when the flukes made contact with the ship was a shower of dead whale skin, covering the whole entire port bow, covering the windows, and then the grease from the whale covered all the windows that every single day I have to meticulously clean so that the guests can see through them clearly. The first reaction was my friend with me. She turned towards me, mouth agape, but silent. I was going through a lot of different things in my head. First, I had just had a collision with a whale. I will say, I did not hit the whale, and let the record show, the whale hit me. I had the guests with me. How was I going to manage that? My friend was with me. The ship could have been damaged, and I didn't know, is it over? Was that just the beginning? Was I about to be Moby Dicked, as I would later describe it? So I checked in with the guests. They were fairly silent, had a couple questions, and I got out to check the damage to the ship. Some of the stanchions were bent in, the window still does not open, and otherwise, one of the welds was broken on the front of the ship, but everything seemed okay. I went to the back, checked the engines, checked for any other damage. I looked at the massive amount of dead whale skin I would need to clean up afterwards. And then, before getting underway, I checked in with the guests and asked if they needed anything, how they felt, if they just wanted to maybe talk about that situation that just happened, because it was very, very intense for me. My heart was still racing. The German guest replied, "I think there is some whale skin on our things we left outside. Would you mind cleaning it first?" So, I did, and I continued along at 23 knots, terrified. Because in the ocean, I often think we're rolling the dice. We see the waves coming, they're usually a certain size, but what if they're twice as big and from another direction? I've been in those situations, I've been hit by those waves. I've seen hundreds, maybe thousands of whales, gone by them just fine. But this one was a classic case of wrong place at the wrong time. And maybe this one would have a grudge. If not today, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe the next boat. I wasn't sure if I created a grudge for this animal or not. And then, of course, the whole drive back I was thinking, what am I going to say to my boss? As I got closer, I radioed in, asked if my boss was available. I made a short little cell phone call. He was incredulous. He wasn't angry yet. And the proper procedure is to contact NOAA. We had a NOAA agent in town. This man named Andy, who the only encounter I had before was when I had met him seeing a whale carcass. I went to go see it. This location was supposed to be private, but I found it. He was armed to the teeth, guarding for bears, in full bulletproof vests and everything. And our only interaction was, I said, "Look a little overdressed for the occasion, officer." So, to meet him again, I was a little worried, but I don't think he remembered me. I filled out a report, told him what happened, and he asked for me to submit it in writing. But other than that, it seems that I had not been acting negligent by his opinion, which was the biggest relief I could get, before having to deal with my boss. It was late at night, and my boss was exhausted, and I think most of all what he was worried about was if Andy had thought that I made a mistake, that his business would suffer. My boss, who owned the vessel that I had just perhaps been responsible for damaging, perhaps heavily, perhaps irreparably. And so I waited for Andy to leave, and I saw my boss. It was late at night. He looked at me, he looked around, pieces of whale all over the deck, all over the side deck, greasy windows, and he said, "Have all this cleaned by 5 a.m. And he scooted off on a skiff. So, I feel like I got away pretty easy on that one. Although, I don't know how many of you all have had to clean up whale, but it doesn't come off as easy as you would hope it would. So I spent hours and hours and hours cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. And those hours were over days and days and days. So I hope that we don't have another Moby Dick in Ialic Bay just waiting to slap another fool who happens to drive by at the wrong time. And I hope that they fix the welds on those boats, because after I left, they still weren't fixed. I think in the end, I came out okay. I hope the whale came out okay. And if anything else, I got a really good story out of it. And some whale skin.
Meet the Ocean is produced by Paul North and Andrew Gettings, with sound design by Kelsey Anderson and original music by Vin Gast. Special thanks to Naturalist and Captain Steve Backus for his whale of a tale. Meet the Ocean is a listener-supported nonprofit. Visit our website to find more podcasts, underwater videos, and other fun educational material at meettheocean.org. Also, you can support Meet the Ocean by joining its online Patreon community. For as little as $1 a month, you will gain access to rewards and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. To find out more, visit patreon.com/meettheocean. Don't forget to subscribe to never miss an episode, and please rate and review our podcast on iTunes or whatever platform you choose to listen on. We thank you for listening, and until next time, may the salt water be with you.